Scanning Ancient Egypt with Károly Póka. You are listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, and we are coming to you not live from the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau. And we have a special guest remotely for this episode, our buddy Károly. I still am probably not saying your name. How do you say your name properly? Let's hear it.
Károly.
Károly Póka.
Károly Póka.
I got it.
Okay.
Károly Póka of the Ancient Technology Podcast.
Yeah, from the Ancient Technology Podcast, and he's been working with we've been working with him and with Adam Young on the scanning project with the Artifact Foundation. So welcome to the show, Károly. Thank you. Yeah.
Cheers. Do you have anything to drink?
I got a fresh Coors Light. Just to be fair to Russ, everybody out there, Károly's name looks like it's spelled Károly.
Right. I've been trying to say like Károly. I don't know. I can't do it. I'm terrible at it. Károly.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard. So you can basically lose the L and Károly.
Okay.
Maybe it's easier if you imagine to losing the L from the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lose the L.
Because the end of the word is L and Y, and in Hungarian it's E together.
Yeah. E. Károly. Okay. Károly. I don't know.
You just made it harder.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll just call you
That's
K.
what she said.
K.
K.
Well, Men in Black.
Yes. Yes. Also, we are trying an entirely new system here. We've got what is this? Riverside. So we're going to give this a shot. Kyle and Kay worked on this over the weekend.
KK.
And so, K and K. That's getting a little dangerous. This is,
Okay.
but it's looking really good. So hopefully this is a system we can use, and it will also stream and everything. But right now we're just using it to do a non-live recording. So,
Yep.
yeah.
It's going to work great.
All right, good. My job is done. You guys, gentlemen, take it away. I'll sit back and listen.
We already did a swap cast together in the UK. So twice. Yeah, that's true. So everybody knows your background and stuff, people from on our show. But let's talk a little bit about this project and where it's gone since then. I mean, how first off is the data set that you got from the Petri Museum? How's it looking? What's the progress there? Give us an update.
Well, we scanned 20 plus objects, not only vases, but different kind of jars, bowls, cores, actually. And I think everyone just thought that, we are scanning it and we will have the data right away after the scanning. But that's not how it's happening, or that's not how it's working. We have an analyst, actually, who is working on the data, because after we scanned it, it's very hard to align them properly. If you want to measure circularity, concentricity, or perpendicularity, you have to align these objects precisely, because we are going to measure it against the perfect circles we can extract from the features. And that's not an easy job, because sometimes the bottoms are worn, so we cannot just use the bottom to center it, and the bottom part will be the reference surface for the centering. So we cannot use that because it's worn. We cannot use sometimes the lip because it has no flat parts. So it's very hard to do. And if you want to measure how perfect they are, basically we need to reverse engineer them. But we have no sketches. We have no actual dimensions, how they were designed or what was the idea behind the design. So we have to slice the vases And then after the alignment, of course, we slice them, and I'm just talking about the circularity measurements right now. After we slice the vases, basically, we can.
Yeah.
I also have
Yeah,
two of these. After we slice the vases, we can check each slice. We can check how circular they are, how perfect they are.
So you're looking at the slice like this to check the circularity, but you're slicing it this way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Getting
and we
a
are fitting a
cross-section.
perfect circle on the data points, and we are checking how much do they deviate, the scan points, how much do they deviate from this perfect circle. But the alignment is also very hard. I mean, there's a complex algorithm behind this, but it was not easy to think about or to figure out how to align these vases, because we just had a meeting with Polyworks a few days ago.
Can you explain Polyworks? What is this?
Polyworks is an industrial grade 3D inspection software, basically. That was used to analyze the OG vase. I'm sure the audience already seen these videos with Ben, Adam Young, Alex Dunn, Nick Sierra. So they use Polyworks. It's an industrial level metrology standard software, basically.
Okay.
And for Polyworks, we needed to reverse. I don't know how Alex Dunn and Nick Sierra did it, so I never spoken to them. But we had a meeting with Adam Young and the representative of Polyworks a few days ago, and we tried to align these scans. But it was not that easy to do, because we have to reverse engineer. We have to find
a center somewhere.
Yeah. But to find the center, we need to align a sphere, a cylinder, or any simple geometry to the vase, so it can snap it together with this perfect describable geometry, and then we can center it. So this is one option, but we are also using another software in Blender. That's an open source 3D software, and we are trying to develop these kind of special alignment algorithms for the vases. But it's a complex task. And then after we have the reports, we need to double check them, of course, to be sure that every measurement is perfect. And the plan is to double check it in Polyworks. But Polyworks is a licensed software, so it's a little bit harder to use it regularly, and actually it's not easy to use. But we have support from Polyworks, so hopefully we can release the data or the results in a few weeks. But yeah, it's a hard task.
So just to be clear, I remember, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers remember seeing the videos where they took, for example, a cone and fit it toward, like, on this part of the vase, just like a cone. And then they would talk about, you would see like this blue line around, and they would talk about how many points actually made contact with the perfect geometric cone. How many points on the vase made contact. So that's part of the alignment process you're discussing. You put a sphere here. How many points of contact does the vase geometry have with the perfect geometry of the computer sphere?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the alignment. Okay.
These are not easy geometries. So we cannot fit an oval shape or something to this, because it's just not possible. We need to find a part which has a simple geometrical, feature, and then we can fit something to that part.
Like, technically this is supposed to be a flat plane. So you would want to be able to fit a flat plane, but then when you look at the video of the OG vase, the flat plane doesn't actually meet all the way across the top of the vase because it's curved.
It is a radius, But one possibility to reverse engineer these objects. So after we scanned, we have a mesh, basically a point cloud of each point that the scanner just captured. But we can reverse engineer these geometries, meaning that we will have a CAD model. We can have a kind of a perfect shape, so we can compare against this perfect reverse engineered model, and that's what's the plan, and that's happening. So we are focusing on doing several measurements, the same measurements, but in different softwares to double check the results and see if the results will meet and will be the same with different methods.
So you build, you come up, you do the reverse engineering, you build a computerized 3-dimensional model of the perfect vase, and then you compare that with the scan
data
of the.
Yeah, my plan is to make some kind of a heat map to see how it looks like, how the deviations are on the vase. Like, have you ever seen a heat map or something like a deviation map?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So when you can see in color codes how much the parts are deviating from the perfect
Some kind
geometry.
of perfect geometry.
Yeah. And because if we slice the vases, it's very hard to comprehend what the results mean. Because the slice could happen on a damaged part.
Yeah.
So why is it not perfect? Why is it deviating that much? Is it because of the damage or because it's not? Obviously we can remove outliers like damages and these kind of things, but I think the heat map is the most comprehensible.
Comprehensive. Yeah, because you don't want to introduce bias by saying, well, that's just damage. Remove that large deviation.
Yeah. We don't want to remove data points from the scans because it's
also just like that kind of it's the best like instantly comprehensible visual representation of the it makes it quickly easy to see, sort of. I think it's a good idea. So what about the right in the neck here? I think what they were aligning to this cylinder here, there's like a section of a cylinder, right?
You can do that. But a lot of Petri vases were damaged.
Yeah.
Around the lip.
Right.
And that's difficult because that was Petri's teaching collection, basically.
Yeah.
And the best part were sold, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Adam
the highest quality ones were
probably
given away
sold
as
because
gifts or sold. Yeah.
Adam knows a private collector who has like several hundred vases, and few of them are originally from Petri's collection. It has the provenance from Petri, and probably he just sold the best ones because those were the most pricey ones, or I have no idea.
Yeah, but, and that continues to fund the research in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that we don't have interesting results, but I will talk about it when it's time. I want to make sure that the results are solid and we double checked everything. And I don't want to make any preliminary publishings of the results because,
But so correct me if I'm wrong, but the plan is to actually do, written publishing of the results initially. Once you guys get it down, write it up, and perhaps submit for peer review. Yeah.
That's the plan, to make a publication with the Petri Museum. I didn't talk with them about it yet, but that's the plan.
Yeah, in archaeological journals and also metrology journals.
You
thought about this?
Engineering journals or
Cool.
Scientific journals. That's the plan. Yeah. But that's a very long road to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very long, because we don't do this full time, and it's you need a very powerful machine to align these vases, because the data points are just tens of millions of points per vase. And it doesn't seem or sound much, but believe me, one vase can be a few gigabytes. Just the raw data.
Yeah. I just want people to understand for sure that there's like the reason for, it's not secrecy necessarily, but the reason for not sharing the data immediately is to make sure to get it right, and then hopefully the goal is publishing in the proper scientific journals, in the normal way, and then obviously publishing on podcasts and whatever
Probably
once
I
you
will
get there?
publish on my channel, on the Ancient Technology podcast first. I mean, the channel's name is mine, Károly Póka, but probably the Ancient Technology podcast will have the first results of these, and then we will start the normal, the journal publishing.
Journal
let's say.
publishing after that. Okay, that's good. And we don't have to wait for that.
Yeah, because
Could take forever.
to be accepted for peer review, and I've been there. I did some publishing in the past, but this is not that's not a short or fast topic. You need to wait for the reviewers to sit down and read all of your shitty pages, and yeah, it's just time consuming, and usually it's not only one reviewer, so you have to wait for several people to read your article, and yeah, that's not easy.
Okay, so how has your concept of these things evolved from when you first heard about it into working on it in the field, and now after looking at the results and working on the...
I'm trying to be neutral. I was skeptical from the beginning, let's say. I wanted to figure out what's happening and what are these. I didn't know you guys, not even Ben or Adam, when I started to contact museums. I just wanted to figure out what the fuck is happening, because these were for me. I was into these engineering aspects of the ancient world, but I was skeptical all the time. I wanted to believe that, and I also felt that some parts of our history probably not exactly clear, and we have a lot of unanswered questions. And if we're looking at those questions from an engineering point of view, probably it gives you a different perspective on those ancient topics and things. But I wanted to be very skeptical and scientific about these vases, so I didn't camp on none of those sides, basically. So I was not sure what we're going to see in the museum. I had no idea. And my belief is that not every vase is perfect. Or I believe that not every vase, and I can also see it, that not every vase is that perfect as we see it, or as we thought probably at the beginning. But we see a lot of interesting things, which is, let's say, not easily explainable by those narratives we heard. So from one side, or from one part, I get the confirmation that there are wrong answers sometimes to those questions, but not everything is unmeasurable or undecipherable, let's say. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain?
I think so. I mean, I feel like I had a similar, well, maybe it's not similar, but my experience of the Serapeum boxes was like this idea that the precision was like super high on the insides. And then the more I inspected them, the more I realized like, well, I can actually see clearly that quite a bit of the insides are not precise. But some of it looks so ridiculously precise. Now, obviously I'm not scanning, but it's like there is some that seems like unexplainable by the traditional ideas. And then quite a few of them look like maybe that is how they were made, like the traditional ideas. I don't know. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and also that I'm kind of not confused, but what I'm trying to say, that I'm not fixed on the mainstream or the complete alternative side either.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle, trying to figure out why these
well, if you're not
if you're not on the mainstream side, you are in the alternative side, right? It's like it's like you have decided there must be some alternate explanation other than the mainstream one. But I agree that there are multiple alternate explanations ranging from aliens doing it with magic all the way to whatever, right? So but I think that on the one hand, what we're trying to ask, right, is like, can we see if these are possible to do with the mainstream explanation? And that's the first question we have to answer. If the answer is no for any of them, then we have to come up with an alternate explanation, right?
Yeah. At the beginning, I had completely no idea. I just saw Ben's videos and what the fuck? What's happening?
Yeah.
And then I tried to dive deep into the topic and I saw, okay, there are very rude vases, very rudimental, not nice, and there are some unexplainable parts or pieces.
Yeah.
And also sometimes I get confused. For example, you remember the conversation with Chris King?
Yes.
He's a precision machining expert. And he had a completely grounded idea of how these are possible with simple tools. So I'm a little bit confused because...
You mean his description of like a wooden lathe with like cotton packed bearings and stuff like that? Like he just kind of had like a rudimentary lathe?
Well, rudimentally, what's rudimental? That's a interesting definition. But
I mean, without like hard steel or like
exactly.
Yeah, he was saying, oh yeah, you can get a precision bearing by stuffing a piece of leather in there with some camel grease or whatever into a socket.
No, he was talking about the how is it called? Journal bearing, where you have the outer socket and the internal shaft, and you have some lube around, and the lube will do the centering basically.
Yeah.
Probably I'm not a mechanical engineer, so probably I'm not quoting him precisely, but that was his idea. And I'm trying to contact several machinists, and I contacted the Titans of CNC, or I think that's the name of the channel. They are making incredible things with CNC machines, like I don't know how many axes, and they have very complicated machines. And I tried to contact them, but no answer. I have another branch of contacts in Norway. One listener of mine kindly offered some metal work if I need to do something, and I said, well, I have some STL files.
Yeah.
Send them a vase scan and have them make it.
And well, we will see what's going to happen. But what I'm trying to say that I'm getting also confused because from one part I hear it that it's impossible to do. From another part I heard it that probably you can do it with those ancient materials or those that you could find in antiquity. And that's why I'm trying to be skeptical and just rely on data. And I hope we can replicate something. Experiment with wooden bearings and those tools, and let's see what's happening, because that's what actually I think experimental archaeology does, but not to this extent.
It's almost never been called for until this research.
That was my impression. Do you remember when we were sitting in the museum, in the Petri museum, and we were scanning, and Chris King was trying to explain the archaeologist woman who was inspecting us that why and what we are doing, and she was surprised because she didn't know about this aspect of these vases.
Yeah.
And that's very, very interesting to see that sometimes no one was thinking about these. Yeah. And that's why it's
weird because Petri was and it's his place.
Yeah. He was writing and thinking about it.
Yeah. It's like, well, I don't want to be critical, but it's like Petri wrote about this, and spent a lot of time arguing with his peers about this very problem.
Yeah, but not down to this micron level thing, right?
He didn't have that capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
you're right.
the main point.
Yeah, not to the micron level thing, but he was basically trying to claim
He was arguing for the lathe.
a fixed tool, spinning the work, jeweled tip cutting, so, basically describing lathe work. So it's interesting that it's like, what do you mean these might be very precise?
My feeling that sometimes there is no consensus about when did they have the lathe? When did they have the first axle? The wheel.
That's what's also interesting. Like another part, you guys were just saying like this has almost never been called for. The reason it's called for is because there's this demand. It seems, maybe I'm mischaracterizing what's happening, but my understanding is that the mainstream explanation of this is saying no. This was done by hand. End of story. This is the reason why this work is being. Otherwise, we would just say, "Oh, well, they must have had the lathe farther back than we thought. No big deal. We'll just like put that in the notes and move on." But this is like not allowed, and so you guys are actually having to fight this. What would you call it? Like this,
like a dogma.
Yeah, dogma by just overwhelming them with very good data that can't be.
Fighting, okay.
He's fighting. It's a fight.
Well, but from the Petri Museum stuff, they were open to this. They didn't say, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's 100% not true." They were open-minded and they were surprised, but open-minded, and that's what told me that there is no consensus. One or a few YouTubers who are archaeologists are trying to debate and debunk these alternative views, but that's not the consensus. Let's see that Ed Bernhardt, maybe that's his name, Luke Caverns.
Bernhardt, Dr. Barnhart.
Dr. Barnhart.
Yeah. He's mainstream, but he is very open-minded as far as I've seen that. So I think the problem is the lack of consensus. And someone telling this is the truth, and another archaeologist telling that that's the truth.
I've never heard someone say lack of consensus is a problem. What does consensus matter?
That's causing debate here. Because people are thinking that these ancient people had no lathe. They are not asking it differently, that what did they have that they could use as a lathe?
I think the consensus is the standard model, which says they didn't have it. That's the problem. But I know it. I think
there are people
I know what you're saying.
There are people who, don't like. They're willing to say, yeah, maybe they did have something, right? But I think that the consensus in general is they didn't even have the wheel.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't have the wheel, the concept of the wheel as a tool, you don't have a lathe.
They don't have full lockstep, because there are archaeologists willing to say, well, maybe.
Yeah.
But the general consensus is they didn't have any of these advanced tools. The consensus is they did it by hand with the...
Yeah.
I have a few archaeologists on the schedule for my podcast, and one is an experimental archaeologist, and another one is expert in copper tools, Egyptian copper tools. I will be very, very curious what's their thinking and idea is going to be like.
The other thing that's interesting with this kind of...
Yes,
that's great. The other thing that's interesting with this, and maybe this will come out when you're, talking to these people, is that the mainstream consensus is often not what you'll hear when you're drinking a beer with the person. You know what I mean?
That's
Right.
Yeah.
So like people will have private ideas or views or things that they may say even on a podcast, but when it comes to like academically publishing a paper, this is the consensus.
Lockstep.
Yeah. And that may be, this may be a safety is maybe the wrong word. This is like a scientific tool right? To keep wild speculation out of scientific papers.
Yeah.
And you only go with whatever is currently understood or provable, but that also creates other problems. And I think, and this might get me in trouble, but I think the problem with this in archaeology is that it's mostly not scientific. It's a million guesses and a little bit of data. This is what archaeology is most of the time. You get tiny little contextual clues and they build a big story from almost nothing. This is all of archaeology. And then the problem is that some of that story becomes old enough to become dogma, and it's very difficult to change it. And this has happened over and over and over in archaeology. And I think that in part, this is what you're up against with there's a reason we're spending all this time. And this is such an interesting question to us is because it basically comes down to, did they have the lathe a couple of 100 years earlier than we might have thought? Right? If no one had a problem with this wouldn't even be a question. We'd be like, yeah, they made these with a lathe. Big deal. Move on. What's the problem?
Yeah.
But the reason that's such an interesting question is because you just can't, there's a dogma. I find this fascinating. But yeah, most of archaeology it's telling a story with tiny bits of data.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, even you look at most of paleontology, you have a couple of bone fragments, and then they will paint you an entire animal. 90% of it is guesswork and contextual, saying like, well, we know the basic kind of animal this was, so we can sort of paint a lizard, right? But you have 2 fragments of bone, and you've made a guess. A lot of guesses. I think archaeology is like this too, especially the farther back you go.
Yeah, but I think the most of the drawback regarding the vase is coming from, I don't know how this started, but some people are linking this alternative research to aliens and stuff.
Yeah, but so what?
But we don't have to bring the unsure variable into the picture to explain these, I think. And some people are just turned off when they hear aliens.
Yeah.
And that's one big factor of these, I don't know, can we call it drawback regarding this research?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is like this, it kind of reminds me of, let's see, there's like this, I don't know what to call it. I think of it as like the dam principle, as in like a dam for holding back water. Yeah, this is the dam principle, right? And people are thinking like, well, if we let this one idea in, then the whole dam collapses and we have to believe in aliens and unicorns and all this other bullshit. And it's not true. It never is, but they act like that, right? Like, I can't believe that there was something strange in the sky because suddenly I have to believe in everything, including ghosts and whatever, Sasquatch. It's like, no, Sasquatch has nothing to do with this, right? But they've lumped all these things into this concept of paranormal. And if you believe in one paranormal thing, like somebody having a lathe 4,000 years ago, then suddenly you have to believe in Sasquatch. It isn't true, right?
Are you sure it's not true?
Well, okay, maybe I should say it's probably not true. Maybe Sasquatch made these. Okay, but I understand what you mean. But I feel like this is another fallacy. This is a kind of fallacy trying to like sort of merge this in with like, well, if you believe this was made with advanced technology a long time ago, then you're basically telling me that aliens are real and they came here and, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm saying that this was not made by hand.
Well, the Russians could do it.
Sasquatch grenades.
Yeah,
that's why so many of them were blown up. That's what they.
Oh my God, these are hand grenades.
Yeah, dude. They're hand grenades, and that's why most of them are fragments at the bottom of the giant pit that they were blasting to get down there under the step pyramid.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Unexploded ordnance.
Those were shrapnels.
Sasquatch grenades. Oh my God.
So, back to the question. how has it changed? How has your thinking evolved? We know what you were thinking getting into it, and now where are you
I was
at?
skeptical, more than skeptical. I wanted to figure out what's happening. I was not sure if those vase scan results are true or not. I saw a lot of debunker videos. For example, I think Dan the debunker did an interesting video when he was explaining why he thinks that Alex Dunn and all these guys were modifying the scan mesh data points because two sections which were analyzed had significantly different amount of data points. So
I think he's stepped back from that sense too, right?
Yeah, he did.
He's like, oh yeah, I've learned more, and
But
maybe
usually
that wasn't
what I
correct.
do is to listen to both sides. And I'm just interesting the implications from the debunker side as well. But a lot of times especially regarding the vase scan thing, a lot of times it seems that they don't understand what we are talking about. They don't understand the metrics. Because I just get a comment a few days ago that, yeah, that's proof Russian woman did it with the hand tools. Yes, she did something, but it's not even close to the quality we see on these vases. Mm-hmm. Where is that 20 microns or 12 microns in circularity? Nowhere. But they don't understand the concept we are talking about. So I'm listening to both, and so just to answer your question finally, at the beginning I was more than skeptical. I didn't know what's happening, if those measurements are truly, I don't know, fake or modified or something, but I genuinely know that these are solid measurements. I think there are very interesting vases indeed. For example, Adam's vase, the OG vase is a very interesting piece. And I think after we get more and more vases scanned, we will be able to tell that something is off in our historical understanding regarding these ancient people and their tools.
So, okay.
So you are going on, or I'm after seeing the Petri results.
You're moving in the direction of there is something unexplained.
I know that there is something unexplained from the beginning. I just don't know who made this big question. It was just a few YouTubers who tried to make an interesting video, or it's really something solid and unanswered. And I'm getting to this conclusion that this is something much bigger than we thought.
Okay.
Excellent.
I love that. I mean, that's, obviously I think there's a natural tendency, a bias towards having some big unexplained thing suddenly land in your lap.
Or there's a bias and tendency to like, no, this is easily explained, right? It depends on.
There's both.
Yeah.
But having worked with you on this project, you don't strike me as somebody who, you just, it's so clear to me that you, no matter whether it's disappointing or not, you just look at the data.
I don't care.
And I appreciate about you. Yeah.
If you will figure out that these are fakes, yeah, okay, then these are fakes. I don't care. I want the truth.
Yeah. That's cool.
You think there's a chance that some of them are forgeries?
I don't see Matt Bell's collection, but he mentioned that he might have one, but I don't know. Forgery. What is a forgery?
Yeah. Like the stuff in the Petri Museum is not going to be a forgery, right? It's not going to be some 18th century forgery.
Why would you
maybe
have a forgery made in the 1800s, sold for a few $100? Why would you make such a, I don't know, scam or trick, or what's the point of that? Because we know that Adam, for example, asked the Chinese several generational granite manufacturing company to make a replica. I think that was a replica of Matt Bell's vase. I don't know exactly.
The thin one?
No.
Oh.
That was not a thin. That was a. I don't have a picture right now, but that was a not a thin, and I think it was a long neck vase. Anyway, the results, the circularity measurements are several magnitudes of or order of magnitudes higher on the ancient vases than on the replica.
Oh, wow. Wow.
At least one.
So
order.
they did make a replica.
Well,
Okay.
they couldn't hollow out the interior. They just drilled it out. They had no tools to hollow it out, like
Okay.
in an
Yeah.
oval shape. They just drilled a hole in it, and that's all. And they went to. I think Adam will be the best person to ask about this, but they went on the side, on the outer walls, on the outside with hand power tools, and they just polished it with hand tools.
Like they were spinning it and polishing it with something?
I haven't seen a
With a hand
video,
tool?
but it doesn't mean it's not possible to do. It just means that one try was not able to do it.
And these were skilled people that
Yeah,
do
they
this
had
kind of-
a
yeah.
stone sculpting or stone processing industry
Yeah.
or
Okay.
workshop or something. But you can ask Adam. I think he has more info on this. But I've seen the results, and that was not even close to the OG vase, for example.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what about the Petri core? That was the big he's just laughing like that was the big deal, like, you know, when the London trip, and it's like I had talked to you before and you were like, I really want to settle this. Like,
Should I share some footage?
please
Yes.
do.
Yeah, I think there was a point. No, that's not that point. Sorry, here we go. Yeah, so the Petri core is a very, very hard object to scan, even though the scanner had like 0.02 millimeter resolution, and sorry, that was the accuracy. So the scanner has technically 20 micron accuracy. That means that the recorded data will 20 micron close to the real object's data or part or point. 20 micron is 0.02 millimeter, and those striations were very, very tiny. I had the feeling that sometimes the striation only visible with the human eye, but it's not exactly there for the scanner to capture, because probably it was like just like a crystal fracture or something.
Yeah.
But it was not an actual groove which we could capture.
Yeah.
So we had a decent scan, and we also have a photogrammetry thanks to a very nice Slovakian photogrammetrist, PhD. Sorry, I forget his family name, but his surname is Marian. And he made a very nice photogrammetrical reconstruction of the core of your footage, which you recorded, Kyle. We are trying to highlight the grooves. It's not analyzed yet. I mean, it's not finished. We are trying to make the grooves as distinguishable as we can. But it's very hard because those were very, very tiny grooves.
It's funny because even in this footage, they're clear. I mean, that you can see them, right? But you're saying that the scanner had difficulty picking them up.
Sometimes,
In some cases or in some places, yeah. It's really interesting. And, you know, the thing has been handled, and who knows, it's sat in the sand for thousands of years. It's, you know, I'm sure they've been polished away over time.
It's amazing. I mean, you think about how much how much the granite has degraded on some of the pillars and things like that. And there's this core.
Yeah.
And it's still sharp enough to see the grooves in the side of it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Pretty
that's a good point.
impressive.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, it's very safe now. It's the star object of the museum, let's say.
Yeah. Star object,
they were very, not secretive, but they were very afraid that we
very
would drop
protective.
it. Yeah, protective, yeah. So we are working on it. And besides, so it's very hard to split our resources because we are working on the vases, we are working on the core. So, and we are not going or doing it full time. We are doing it in our free time as a hobby, basically, and that's why it's not going to be released like tomorrow. But we are.
How dare you? No, I understand. I mean, yeah, I totally get it. It's amazing enough to me that this is even happening. Like, I'm really excited about it, but I totally understand. The easy part is gathering the data. The hard part is analyzing it.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments and stuff that when will you release the video or the results, and will you release the STL files? I will eventually. That's my plan, but I don't want to release it until we have the peer-reviewed journal.
Yeah.
That's all. For the peer review, I need to release it because probably they will have to inspect it and double check it, and that's the part of the peer review process, hopefully. But probably the STLs won't be publicly available until that time.
So you'll keep basically the raw scan data until you have published like a paper in journals. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will be interested to see. Sorry for interrupting you, but I will be interested to see, like, once you've done your analysis and then hopefully you get some things published and then you release it. Like, once it's out there in the world, then you have a much larger number of people devoting a lot more time to it, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Just like what they did with the STL for the OG vase. Like,
yeah,
some interesting things came out of the original scan, but once it was let out into the wild, like, a lot more interesting things happened with that data. That's what's, So, I mean, it just, maybe not, but it's possible that, that you guys, the ones who took the scans, won't even be the ones that find the most interesting thing from the data.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are looking through on our goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah, you got to let everyone look at it.
I'm just curious, did Marion, or I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but the photogrammetry specialist, look at any of these from the endoscope?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we did this endoscopic measurement to maybe we would be able to reconstruct the interior surface texture or some geometry from this. We will see. I will send it to him.
I'm skeptical. It just, yeah. We need better cameras.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. But it was fun. So we basically there and I think just to set all things up was like half an hour at least. It was, I don't know, how much did you talk about this already? Maybe I'm repeating.
It's okay.
No, it's fine.
Don't worry about it.
We've mentioned some things, but not in detail about this. So
I was pretty guarded about it in the beginning because I didn't want to like piss you guys off by like saying too much about it. And so
yeah, we had been told, he would just be made to disappear one day. Like, listen, if you value your life, keep your mouth shut, bro.
Just shut up.
He's like, I have your address.
That's right. I know where your kids are.
So the setup was not easy, and the last day we forget the turntable, which was very useful, and Russ just saved the day. So we had several cameras, endoscope. We let the scanner to warm up before calibration to be on the perfect room temperature or the working temperature of the scanner. And there was a small cart somewhere with the artifacts. There was a nice sarcophagus. I always mess it up. Sarcophagi or sarcophagus is the singular.
Sarcophagus?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was
sarcophagi
a nice
is plural.
Plural. Okay. There was a nice sarcophagus next to us, and this museum was just very cool.
Yeah.
Packed. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of like looking at someone's very extensive private collection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. And which is basically what it is.
Yeah,
It's
from
Petri's.
the tiny stuff to the large ones, like
Yeah.
human-sized things. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was actually a very stressful morning when we got there for the first time, because I had so much pressure on me that I want everything to go, or I wanted everything to go perfectly without any flaws and mistakes, and if we could capture the best way possible. It was it was stressful, and we actually I think we started to get very, very tired after the, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks. End of the second week was like, Jesus, and that's why we forget the table, because we were getting so tired. We had a lot
Maybe
of
because you
plans.
guys were drinking beer till 4 a.m. every night.
Well, not every
I'm
night.
just saying.
Not
I wasn't
every
tired.
night.
Károly has you have the aura ring, right?
Yeah.
That's like tracking his health all the time. He's showing me this chart, and it's like his stress level is like building all the way up to the first appointment, and like his health is just dropping the whole time. I'm just like, dude, you need to get some sleep, man. He was, but I totally understand, like, that was a big culmination in like all this prep work that you had been doing for so long, and I can totally get it. For me, it was like, this is all.
Yeah,
I was just super
like, this
excited.
is great.
I was pumped. Yeah.
I could tell though the morning before the first appointment and the night before when you guys were prepping, like everyone was nervous. But of course I was like, yeah, this is great, man. You guys are going to do fine. Don't worry. You know? So yeah, it was good. But yes, I could tell that everyone, I think the second appointment, you guys were much more relaxed, but of course you forgot some stuff, but whatever, you were more relaxed, but maybe more tired. We had been there a long time.
Yeah, there was a time pressure in the museum, so we just collected and selected a lot of artifacts, like 20 plus. And the time was limited. We had 5 hours per day or per appointment, and we had only 10 hours in total. And, well, the scanning was to get the proper data the best way possible. It was just not easy. It was not easy and not fast.
Yeah. Do you think that, there will be like, will this be made easier in the future with better tech? Like this hand scanner is kind of a brand new thing, right? You couldn't really bring a structured light scanner into the field. It was sort of a fixed piece of technology.
Probably I made a mistake at the beginning when I told you that this is a structured light scanner.
Okay.
That was my mistake. It's kind of true, but not entirely. This is a laser. It's a combined scanner, let's say. I have it here. So basically, it's a laser and infrared scanner, and the laser part is working like it's projecting a few laser beams, as you could see also on the footage. It's projecting a few laser lines on the object, and it's measuring how these lines were reflected. It's projecting a pattern.
This is like how LiDAR works, right?
Yes, but the LiDAR is measuring the time of flight of the laser beam, and this is measuring the reflection angle.
The geometry. The angles.
So you have to triangulate with the device. And the other feature of this is the infrared mode, because it's projecting a pattern, like pattern of small dots. I made actually a full comprehensive video about this scanning technology and how this scanner is working actually. And that infrared mode is projecting a pattern which is only visible for the infrared cameras, not for a human eye. And there the distortion of the pattern is measured. So it's something like the structured light with the infra mode, but it's not exactly structured light.
Okay.
But that would be ideal because to use a structured light, it would be much better with a few microns accuracy instead of the 20. But the problem is with the structured light that it's a big projector. You have to bring the stand. It's limited, so it's not really portable like this one.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at, like the ability to have a portable scanner with high accuracy, high resolution in the field. Not just portable, but something where you can take it into a cave, right? This is sometimes portable doesn't mean you can drag it into an area where there's no power. This is the other thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So but resolution and accuracy is a little bit different things. So accuracy is how close the measured point is to the actual point.
Yeah.
And resolution is like
how many points?
How many points and what's the minimal distance between the recorded points?
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah. So you can have high resolution, but they may not necessarily be accurate. So you want accuracy and resolution, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, high resolution, high accuracy portable devices that can be taken into the field when the field is ancient caves full of sand, right? This is important, and I think yeah. So this is important. As the technology progresses, if it does, I think it will. This kind of thing will become easier. Although every object presents its problems, difficulties. Like Kyle has mentioned when we were talking about this before, probably multiple times now. That, like, for example, the boxes in the syrup, they're just enormous.
You need a scaffolding.
You need scaffolding.
The lighting needs to be insane.
Your camera, whatever, has to be on an extension, something. Like, you can't just walk around the object.
And you need a scale, because the volumetric accuracy is another point. So by every meter you scan, you are losing actual accuracy.
Right.
If you're scanning big object with a small scanner. So you need some reference points, which is telling the scanner the actual scale. There are scanners like this from the same manufacturer. I just asked for this scanner because I thought that probably this is what we need for the vases.
Yeah.
Because this is at that time that it was the best portable scanner of Shining 3D.
Call them back and just say, listen, guys, we need all your tools.
all of them.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I just want to, we've kind of already moved on but I wanted to ask you, can we look at the photogrammetry of the core? Can you show it?
Yes, you have to talk a little bit when I'm looking for it, but we can.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, as he mentioned before, I'll just tell the story. We did in the first appointment, I was doing mostly the endoscope of the insides of the vases, and I also shot video footage of just putting the vases on the little rotary table and spinning them around and taking footage. After that first appointment, we reviewed all the data and we were looking at those videos, and it was like, dude, these videos are really awesome. Like, they're just great to have, like this 4K video up close, spinning the vase around nice and slow. So it's smooth. There's no blurriness in the motion of the video, or very little. So the next appointment, Károly asked me to get really good footage of all of the artifacts that we scan. And with the core, I took a whole bunch of videos, and we talked about this in a previous show, but a whole bunch of videos all the way up and down it, spinning it all the way around. And so they built a 3D model out of a couple of those videos, and it's amazing. And it's a pretty big file too. I tried to open it up. I guess you sent me like I don't know how big it is, but
And
I tried to open it on my phone. Which is a mistake.
Which is probably more powerful than all the computers you have in here.
Sorry, I'm looking for it. I have it actually. I'm just opening it up.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. I would also the other thing I thought of was after seeing the analysis by Alex Dunn and what's the other guy's name?
Nick Sierra.
Nick, yeah. The way they had put the geometric shapes on the vase, I guess they were using Polyworks. I basically did the same thing in Blender.
Yep.
And it looked exactly like their. Do you remember?
Yes.
Like even where the geometric pieces were touching the vase.
Yep.
It looked just like theirs. So I spent a lot of time on that. I mean, of course, I couldn't count
The
points of contact,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But you got basically the same bands of of
the same
contact.
bands of contact
Yeah.
around each one.
You're like,
so-
yes, I can make a sphere that roughly gives me the same band of contact that they are showing with theirs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then finding, putting the toroids
Yep.
on there and
Yep.
and seeing like correlations between the radii of the lug handles and like the curvature of the lip. It's like I literally duplicated the
Yeah.
lug handle toroid and it like fit perfectly on the lip. It was like, wow. So
Yeah.
this is like the same curve. Now, of course, what's the accuracy? I don't know, but I mean, to
Of
the
Blender?
naked eye,
Yeah.
No, I mean, what's the accuracy of the toroid, of my placement of it? Actually, what's the accuracy of it touching the real model?
Yeah.
But to the naked eye, it's like imperceptibly small.
Yeah.
So back to the core.
Yeah.
Kyle, you did this kind of a very nice turntable footage from different heights of the core.
Thank you, sir.
And this was used by Marian Marcis to reconstruct the actual 3D model of it. He extracted frames of this and calculated the actual. I'm not an expert in photogrammetry, but he is. And he did an accurate reconstruction based on this footage. And I can just pull it up.
Would you say this is
window?
You know that a photogrammetry was made of it before?
Yeah,
by
there
somebody
was.
else?
Yeah, but that was a little bit shitty, made from shitty pictures, let's say. And I
Okay.
asked Marianne if we have this problem with this, which was described by Chris Dunn.
Of
That,
the foreshortening?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have no problem with this if you calibrate the software correctly. So, and you did the height change
Yeah.
of the camera, and that helped because then you had another perspective and
Yeah.
Another reference point.
yeah, exactly.
To
So
correct
this
for
is
lens
the
issues and
reconstruction.
Yeah, this is really cool.
So is this the best photogrammetry
Obviously, it was not
reconstruction?
photographed from the
Oh man,
top.
huge mistake. What do you? It's hollow.
It was sitting on the turntable.
I
What was
know.
I?
I'm
Yeah,
just
we
messing.
should have snapped a photo on the top and bottom. Like, Marianne, please just slap this photo on there.
But that's really amazing.
These are the important parts anyway, not the broken ends.
Yeah.
And I can remove the texture somehow.
That's like a point cloud it made, huh? Or
I
what do you
wouldn't
call
say-
that?
That's like a
It's a mesh.
A mesh.
the mesh of the surface.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So how?
But if you remove these connections of the mesh points, then it will be more visible. So you need a better lighting, and you need better calculations to extract the grooves, and not
The depths
extract,
of the
but to see where are the grooves exactly.
So from this model, if you put the texture back in, can you draw lines and follow this texture? I just feel like the wrapping. I feel like that the wrapping of floss and the drawing of lines that's introducing too much arbitrary. Like you have to decide. Like, well, this line.
Yeah, it's arbitrary decision. Yeah. If you just wrap something around it, you have to decide. For example, maybe the video was a little bit better, but here, where this line continues, you go from here to here.
Or is that
here.
just a mark of the darker? Is that just a mark on like a color change? Like, is that really a groove? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Even looking at it in person. Now, I didn't use a loop like Chris King did. But like clearly there, well,
hard to point at it from over
hard
here.
to point at. Some lines just vanish.
Yeah,
they just stop.
I have a close-up video.
But that's amazing. That I'm proud of that, people.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It should become the industry standard photogrammetry of the Petri core.
Big thanks to the gentleman who made that photogrammetry.
Yeah.
You got an extra beer over there?
Yeah, bro.
He has actually a nice X page where he analyzed the different statues, like the Ramses statues, the Ramses heads. He also analyzed a few Serapeum boxes when he visited Egypt. I had a call with this guy, and he's very knowledgeable and grounded, let's say. His approaches are purely scientific and no speculation, just look at the data and see what's happening. He's a very nice guy.
Cool. And he also made a little diagram. We talked about this before, but when we did the Egypt trip, he made a diagram of how I should take pictures of the boxes to get good photogrammetry of the inside and outside. That was great. I hope they turn out well. We just he hasn't made the construction he hasn't done the photogrammetry on the Serapeum box yet, but I'm really, really hoping that turns out good, because that would be awesome to have a model like that
of one of the boxes would be great.
Yeah.
Well, what's your take on the photogrammetry? Could it be a useful technology on the field? Would it be easy to implement on every site? What's your experience with that?
One thing I want to say, I'm sorry, real quick, is if we could extract the photos from video, that would be amazing. But as you told me, like the video is when it's in motion, you know how blurry it can get with panning, like it's just a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like,
even if when you made this very clear footage of the core, Marianne said that maybe first he said that the iPhone has a very nice camera for this, but after he did the reconstruction, he said maybe we should use a DSLR camera
because it's not sharp. All the images were not like perfectly sharp like they could be if it was just like a
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So
yes, the phone cameras are basically designed to make something that looks good to the human eye when you're watching it, which is not necessarily good for science.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it does lots of blurring and...
Yeah, so...
this thing takes an amazing picture of the moon, and I get told that it's fake.
Yeah.
This is a fake moon picture.
So, here you can see maybe the grooves a little bit better from a different perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris King is talking in the background to document the inspection. Yeah, it's not an easy artifact to analyze, I would say, even with high precision modern technology.
Don't you think that this one, the best thing for this one really would be CT scan, because there is no interior.
Yeah,
you just need a CT. Yeah. So wrap it in some bubble wrap. Ship it to a CT scanning place.
That's the other thing is that they made a latex mold of it. They wrapped it and made a mold, and like that basically very clearly captured the exterior surface. And then that was analyzed, and it was basically shown that they do have a spirality, and that should have ended the question. And it didn't, because some people are just not going to accept it. So I don't think, it doesn't matter how much data you get on this, there's going to be some people who are just never going to accept.
I will never going to accept them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like those people don't really matter because they aren't going to accept. It doesn't matter how good your data is. This other test that was done a while ago should have ended the question. And it could be done again, and you can reanalyze it, and you can do it with high quality video and pictures, and they probably will still just be like, no.
Well, I think doing a high resolution, high accuracy scan is a little bit more conclusive or objective than doing a latex mold.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a
You could do a latex
expert.
mold, and then you could do a high resolution scan of the mold itself in a fixed scanner. Right?
Yeah, but I think just doing several measurements, that's the point of with several technologies, and then we will eventually have a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because one measurement is not measurement, in physics or in engineering.
Yes, you have to repeat it, yeah.
Exactly.
With different tools, yeah. I understand.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just trying to tell you that I don't think it matters what you show with your measurements. If it shows what some people don't like, they are not going to accept it. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Well,
but maybe you can change the consensus. But you know how what they say about science is it changes one funeral at a time.
Someone has to die.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, it comes down to someone has to die.
So, what do you? Can we talk about the future? Can we talk about upcoming plans? Can you type about it?
What plans? We have a lot of plans, actually. So that's sure that Boston Museum is open. Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, sorry. They are open for a scanning appointment. Probably that will happen this summer. And actually very close to the Cosmic Summit thing, but then we will have another appointment in New York, actually. Right? With you, with Adam Young. The date is not fixed yet. So we're just trying to say it like it's like a preliminary, not advertisement, but shout out or hint or whatever. Sorry for my English.
Yeah, we're thinking about doing sort of just like a day event. Kind of like the afternoon at the museum thing we did, but up in New York, do some presentations, maybe go to a museum, go to the Met or something.
Yep. Presentations on the Petri scan results.
Still in the planning stage. Should be fun if we can do it.
Yeah.
But this is just hypothetical. It's under progress.
Yeah.
To organizing it, I mean.
It's gonna happen. That's how you make it happen. Yeah, so that's great.
And the other plan, sorry, I didn't finish your question, the answer to your question. Yes, we have plans in Egypt as well. Cairo, or the Egyptian Museum in Cairo is also on the plan. Adam Young is organizing it for a quite long time now to get access to that set of vases, basically. That would be probably the best we could get in terms of provenance, because it's still in Egypt. It's there are a lot of vases there with a pristine condition, very nice condition, and they have tons of these. I've been in the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, but they don't have a lot of these vases there. I think they had more in the old Egyptian Museum. They have a nice display in the new museum, and not all the rooms are open yet. So probably they will put more vases. I doubt it, but the old museum has a lot of nice pieces which we have seen on the tour with you.
Mm-hmm.
With the gold handle ones and small, very, very tiny vases like my thumbnail.
And
so
they're kind of
that's the
scattered.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sort of have to know where to find them. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like multiple different displays based on what they
dark,
think is
room.
different
Yeah.
timelines or something.
Yep.
Dusty cabinets.
Different
cannot even
tombs
see
that they were
through.
found in or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cabinet windows are all glazed with dust, and you're
Yep.
just like, oh, I want to open them.
Yeah, so that's one of the plans, and I have a lot of things to do, and with the analysis, with these podcast things, and I'm just packed, quite busy for this entire year already, and it's 16th of January.
Welcome to running your own small podcasting business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's really cool. Let's see. Do you want to talk about the Egypt trip at all?
well, not very specifically, but we can talk in general what we have seen and what we.
What was your impression of like field work? Like, how do you? I'm just thinking, like, as an engineer, from your perspective as an engineer, what were some of the problems you dealt with? What do you think we could improve on, and how would you like to, try? I'm assuming you want to try this again. How do you want to make it better? Blah blah blah. Yeah.
A lot of dust.
So I was right. We need a pallet.
Dust.
We need a pallet of paper towels and some Windex. Number one.
Not only on the object, but also on the ground. Crazy. But
So let's talk about that for a minute. We had guys with brooms, dustpans, and just their hands, and like going in
Electric
ahead of time,
blowers.
little electric blowers, and trying to just empty the sand out of boxes and things so that they could be scanned.
Then it's in the air. They're getting in the way of your lasers.
Trying to get like, oh my God.
Right?
Well-
I mean, do they get picked up as particulates if it's like very dusty in the air?
No, not really. It was not that critical.
Okay.
But one problem was the software, because I know you already talked about this, but we had a very cutting edge gamer laptop for this job, and with a NVIDIA RTX 4090 GPU, graphical processor unit, and very massive, powerful CPU as well, and close to 100 gig RAMs. And the problem was that after we captured a few nice objects which were large, and the software had to basically save and pre-process something on the data before I could go on. And we lost a lot of time because of this.
You're just waiting. Yeah.
Rather than
just
it just
waiting.
saving the data and let us start a new one and process later.
Exactly.
So
that's
he's sitting
something
there
that-
waiting, and like, yeah, God.
It's
Yeah.
something I have to discuss with Shining 3D and their engineers, because that's not very optimal. I don't know how they are dealing with this on the field in the industry. Maybe
I know how to approach them. You just need to be like, guys, listen, watch this. We need one for that, basically.
Watch this movie. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I don't have time
Yeah,
for your computer to process this. I have to swing across the pit of spikes.
Yes, I'm being chased by alligators. I don't have time. Like, I'm not
the
going to go take a coffee break while your processor does the processing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Mostly this, but I think the problem was that this is it's not a multi-threaded program. It's not using all the resources we have. Probably that was and I can imagine why it can be an issue. I was working with software to try to make it faster and multi-threaded. It's not an easy task, but yeah, that's an existing problem. Maybe it's not easy to solve, but definitely possible. The question is, how important is it for the company? Maybe it's working well anyway. But they have new. Actually, I have seen just before we went to Egypt, they released a new scanner, and you don't need a computer for the scanner, so it's recording in situ on the scanner. You don't need a laptop, but probably it has limitations. That was the most annoying difficulty I faced with. The organization of the places and yeah, they were also secretive about different things, which was not really easy. It didn't make our job easier, but I think when we can have enough time, when we can have a fast, we need enough time, and we need a fast processing and computing device too. But another difficulty, let's say, if you are out on the field, is the sun. This is one of the sites, and Ben is trying to cover the sunlight with his jacket, and I'm trying to get the scan done on this object.
Yes, I know what this is. This one would also be good for photogrammetry, at least that surface.
Yeah, we were trying to capture this radius and
yeah.
these.
Yeah.
You know what? I did that one, which means that I didn't properly mark this for a folder. I know I took a picture of this one, or did photogrammetry of this one.
Yeah.
Ben felt I'm glad he got to do this though, because he talked about it. He was like, I had a job. He was like,
yeah, he was happy that he was useful. Yeah. That's how I was with the UK trip.
You got to
I
have
finally got a job, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you saved the entire project." I'm like, "Thank you," because up till now I was totally useless.
See, that's the thing. Even when you're totally useless, that's your job.
Right, your job is to be there in
with
case,
nothing else to do.
Right. Yes, just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I just have to say that the whole thing, I'm once again just like very happy that this is happening, and just totally humbled to be a part of it. It's really cool.
Big shout out to Adam Young and the Artifact Foundation. He established or founded basically, and be a part of it. And I'm also very honored that I could work with you guys. Actually, that was a very, very interesting feeling that I went on your trip last year in March, and then the same year, October, we went together like friends to do real fucking science in a museum on those artifacts we were talking about.
Yeah.
That was just so great. And
Yes.
I felt like in a fairy tale, let's say. I don't want to be gay.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you're like, this is living the best life.
Yeah,
right?
living the dream.
Yeah,
is
you're
basically
living the dream.
that's
Exactly.
the way it felt. Absolutely.
And then we went
100%.
back with Ben.
Yeah.
That's another, I don't know, I was like just watching his videos, and on the tour he was like a rock star, and now he was, we were like I don't know, bros, and we were drinking and doing the podcast and scanning, and the fuck?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Nearly in not even 1 year passed and we were doing this together. So yeah, and it's a huge part of this entire thing is Adam Young, actually, because we kind of connected on the trip, on the Egypt trip, because I already had the appointment in the Petri Museum. I didn't know him, but after I knew him or get to know him, we realized that, okay, just assemble our forces, because it's much more effective than doing the same thing alone. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah, he's a great organizer. for sure.
Yeah.
And he's also brilliant. So it's been great working with him and getting to know him better too. And I'm really looking forward to going up to New York. That's his stomping ground.
Explorers Club.
Yeah, that would be so great. And I just invited him to come on the show, so hopefully he'll come on when Russ gets back from Peru.
Yeah.
What do you do there?
Oh, it's he's got a date with your mom.
What is that? Sorry.
Zero
AI.
mistakes, huh? Zero
Cut that
mistakes.
part out.
I just heard that your mom showed
Dude, so this new service we're using, Riverside, has like AI processing, so I can just I don't even have to actually do any more cuts, folks. I can just tell the AI.
AI, clip that, send it to me.
No, I made interesting clips with Kyle's voice.
He did. He's got the AI just like straight up faking my voice now.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So if anyone on the Discord starts getting messages of me talking from Károly, it's totally fake.
Completely
Did
fake.
not happen.
So what do you do in Peru? Can you talk about it?
We're going to, Ben and I are going, and one of our friends, we're going down there to scout. Professor Shai actually is going with us. We're going to go scout, and hopefully because we're planning to run a trip down there later this year, hopefully, and maybe in October. It's up in the air, but we have been wanting to do a Peru trip for a long time, and we're finally getting down there to, we got to check the venues, like speak to the people we're going to be working with, see how it's going to go, and also just do some exploring and have a good time. But yeah, the goal is to have a Peru tour later this year and in the future.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm leaving like in a couple of days, flying down there. It's going to be great.
So I basically we sort of like traded. I went to Egypt with you guys, and he's going to Peru. So.
Yeah. That's the one thing about doing like a 2-host show is like flying 2 people on every trip is twice as expensive as like, if you just got one guy hosting a show. So sometimes we have to split
Are you
it up.
flying tomorrow? Oh, so sorry. I have no co-host.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It costs half as much for you to do these trips as it does for us.
I have different personalities, per se.
Yes. Yeah. That's hilarious.
I don't have the live effects.
Kyle has,
I mean, I could do it, but that would be even more zero mistakes than I have.
I will clone your voice for next time.
The best part of all this stuff, folks, is talking shit to each other.
Yeah, of course.
In different languages.
Yeah.
Turoshegu.
Yeah.
Do you remember the entire sentence in Hungarian?
Yeah, I do. But I'm not going to say it.
Why? No one will understand it.
We have like 3 people that listen to us from Hungary.
Really?
You don't want to offend those guys. There's at least 3.
Turoshegu, csápás pinájú, csóvás fászi numerek. AI! Cut that part out. Do I have the crickets? I don't know. I used to have the crickets.
Yeah.
Anyways. Well, it's been really awesome. Everybody needs to check out Károly's podcast too. Ancient Technology Podcast.
Yeah. You can search for it
On
on YouTube, or you can just search for my name. It's a little bit harder, but it also works. That's my channel's name, Károly, or Károly Póka. And I'm also streaming the podcast to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So you can find Ancient Technology Podcast.
Excellent.
And you're going to start doing live shows, right? I'm going to be your first
I have
guest.
the setup now, thanks to my girlfriend. I have the full podcast setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was telling him like, bro, let's go live on your channel, man. I want to show up there and we'll just talk trash to the chat the whole time.
Yeah, there
It'd
you
be
go.
great.
That'll be perfect.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Yeah,
I
it'd be
have a
awesome.
few differently interesting people, like not how do you call it, spurks? No,
What do you mean?
Spurgs?
spurks. Yeah, that's how you call them.
Trolls?
Like trolling the video comment sections or
Oh,
the
yeah,
live
yeah.
chat, everything that I get those that, oh, you are an electrical engineer. That's why you cannot measure it correctly.
Oh
And,
yeah.
yeah, these kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've got dedicated haters. That's fine. That's a mark of success, bro.
But the most wonderful experience when your audience is defending you and telling them to fuck off.
Yeah. Exactly. Like my policy on YouTube is like, don't ever respond to the negative stuff because there's plenty of people who are just going there and kick their asses for you. It's awesome to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want a comprehensive explanation of different scanning technologies, Károly just released that video actually, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe
Well,
months
I
ago.
released 3 after that already, but yeah, it's
I
on the
haven't
channel.
watched. I haven't updated myself, but that was fascinating. Yeah, so go check that out.
No one watched it. No one is interested in that
We did-
technical videos.
We did one on batteries, and it's like
Yeah. Didn't do well, but we loved the interview.
I've actually gotten more messages about that show recently
Oh, yeah.
than any other show.
Of course.
I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the technical videos are not for everybody, but I really appreciated the scanning one because obviously I think that's the cutting edge of archaeology right now.
Well, it's the thing is like with this kind of stuff, you can do like sort of what we did with Forbidden Frontier the other day, where you're kind of giving an overview.
Yeah.
But those overviews are not possible without like hundreds of hours of the technical stuff, right? Where you're just digging into like, how did they shape this block? How did they put these together? And then you're drawing little diagrams or you're scanning things. And then you can go somewhere and give a broad overview based on all this information you have, like a synthesis,
Yeah.
right? So all of this work is necessary and some people will be interested in this, but yes, more often you will get more interest in episodes that sort of get a broad overview of like big goals, big questions, big answers. So
Yeah,
But
but
the
I'm
deep-
also planning on research videos when I'm talking about one particular topic I researched, and that's what you actually also did on the pyramid building techniques or on Göbekli Tepe. That was actually great, and I think that's also another niche part
Yes.
of this job. Not only the podcasting and conversations, but to do in-depth videos, like Ben, for example.
Yeah.
But I would do a little bit from a different perspective. Everyone is doing it from their own perspective, with through their own goggles, and then it's can be interesting.
And
It takes all types. I
That's
think,
right.
yeah.
And the more voices, the more work, the better, especially when it's genuine. You know, like I don't know who is and isn't genuine, but you could kind of, over time, you sort of see like, okay, this person is just interested into the data. They're trying to do science. They may have some biases. That's fine, right? But when you're actually just trying to do actual science and figure out what's going on, that's what you want. And that's what advances the general body of knowledge, right? The interpretation of what that knowledge means is a whole other story. And like the rant I had earlier, I think that most of history is interpretation of tiny bits of information.
And we also
Especially-
need the engineering perspective.
Yeah, you need the like when you go back this far, when you go back to 6000 BC or whatever, it's all engineering. There is no text left. No paperwork remains. Like, you know, you have tiny fragments of stuff because there's no written anything unless it's written in stone. So I just think that this is part of the fascinating. This is the fascinating aspect is once you go back this far, all you can see is the architecture, if there is any, and the objects. There isn't any paperwork.
Do you think that they could have, just speaking about pyramids for a second, do you think they could have built any of the pyramids we saw without engineering them? beforehand?
Of course, enough slaves, beer, and time. Joke. No,
Clip it.
obviously not. I mean, organizing such a big task, it needed. I'm not an expert in organizing constructions, but from an engineering perspective, I can tell that these are fascinating feasts of engineering.
To me, the more I look into them, the more I get the sense that that every single aspect of them was completely planned. I can't see how it could not have been. Yeah,
the ones where
I think I shouldn't have said it that way. The one thing I think is like the particular shape of each block may have been created on site based on what was necessary, because the tools allowed for that, the methodology allowed for that, but that the macro structure and the overall elements were engineered.
Yeah, but just going back to your topic, Russ, just for a tiny bit, I had this. I want to be honest. I didn't know if you are genuine or not, you and Ben, before I went on the trip. I was skeptical about that too.
Sure.
That makes sense. I was even questioning: are these guys just doing this for the YouTube views and the money, and they are trying to make up things just to invite people on their tour? I had no idea, but I had also this feeling in the back of my head. But even on the tour, after those first few days, this idea of being not genuine just completely was destroyed. It was just bullshit. So I learned that you were fucking genuine.
We might be wrong, but
Yes.
it's genuinely wrong, right?
And you are accepting
Yeah,
me.
most of the time, wrong.
We're wrong almost
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thank
but
you, man. I appreciate that.
That was a positive surprise for me. Not a surprise because I had no hopes. I went on the tour because I'm fascinated about Egypt since I'm 7 or something. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I love you guys, both you and Ben. It's very, very, how should I say? It's very easy to spend weeks with you. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't feel the same with me because
Appreciate
I always need Guinness and I'm picky about beers and blah, blah, blah. But
Well, I mean, we had a great time hanging out with you on both trips. I mean, Kyle's been on 3 with you now, so it's always fun.
It's great. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking constantly on Telegram now with all these plans and everything. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And Russ and I have often talked about how we're all of us are probably plenty annoying to a certain degree to
Yeah.
everybody.
Everyone has.
We're
their-
all kind of nerds and we all have these eccentricities.
Yeah.
And
Like, what do you mean by circle? Right? We all do this. So,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's great, man. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your engineering mind and your attention to detail and everything. I think it's that kind of stuff. It's that kind of way of looking at the world that makes this research possible. So I think it's awesome.
yeah, I want to tell this story again. I think I've mentioned it before, but to me, the funniest thing with Károly in Egypt, he comes up to me. I knew who he was. We'd been hanging out. Like, this was near the end of the tour. And he comes up to me and he's like, I want you to come with us to this thing in October. I am inviting you. And I'm like, okay, fuck yeah. I had no idea what he was talking about. Like, he assumed that Kyle had told me, I guess. But he's just like, yes, this thing in October, you were invited. I'm like, sweet. And then later I was like, what is it, Kyle? He said something about October. What's going on? I don't know. And Kyle's like, oh, there's this whole trip planned. But I already knew that whatever it was he was planning was going to be cool. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. I'll go. Whatever it is, I don't know. Sounds great.
Yeah, it would be nice to plan more of these research trips, because a lot of people from the March Egypt trip joined just because they knew you, me, Chris. Chris was also on the March trip, but it would be actually nice to involve people in field research. They can just join for fun and be there and hang out with us and maybe help. But yeah, that would be a nice thing to organize maybe next time.
Yeah.
I hope. I forget, when you asked for plans, I forget to tell that maybe we will have a plan in, I don't know when exactly, but I'm not only working together with, or we're contacting the Petri Museum, but a lot of museums, and also the museum, I think, Museo Egizio. That's, I don't know, probably I pronounce it badly in Italian, but it's a Egyptian museum in Turin, Italy. And I submitted my research plan, and they will probably review it early this year and decide if we can go there and scan or not.
Man, it's going to be great.
Italy, bro.
Italy.
Just saying, for those who are living in Italy or close by, nearby.
Yep.
If they want to join for a meetup or something.
Yeah, I think we did that meetup in the UK. That was awesome. The afternoon at the museum event we did was really great. I wasn't sure what to expect of that. It was like, we did this with Luke Caverns, but I was like, man, I don't know, is this going to be? But as soon as we got into that museum and started going through with the group of people and just talking about it, it was awesome. And then we had dinner together and did presentations. It was really great. So if we can organize stuff like that around these museum appointments with locals who want to come and walk through the museum when it's open to the public. Yeah.
Yes.
Classic Károly. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll be working on that. I think it's a great idea, and I hope all the rest of the museums open their doors to this research.
Me too.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest comment I got? 1 Guinness, 1 pint in 2 hours. Congratulations.
1 pint.
1 pint.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when we are...
It's not enough.
Always when you're doing the podcast, I'm trying to drink Guinness, and sometimes it's only 1 because we are engaged in a conversation, and then this is just drinking 1 pint in 2 hours. Such a lame. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, well, open your second pint, and then we can end the show.
Yeah, there you go. Crack it open.
I've already drank 2, and this is my 3rd one.
Yeah, and I'm most of the way done here.
I have to go for it, so... It's not
We
illegal.
we do like to argue about beers. That's one of the things that will happen when we're on a trip, inevitably.
Well, it happened in Egypt last time, I remember.
There were long, ongoing, multi-day debates about how to make breakfast. So, I mean, we argue about everything.
How do you like your bacon? Crispy or not crispy?
I mean, using entirely the wrong meat. It's the wrong cut. It's the wrong stuff.
Believe me, folks, trying to cook breakfast for a whole bunch of nerds who are like so particular about everything, it's just like, okay, I'm doing my best here, guys.
I will cook for myself and leave the kitchen.
But my favorite part,
everybody like analyzes every little aspect of everything that you just did, and you're just like, okay, like, you don't like the way I'm washing the pan? Wow. Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it was not, I don't like the way you're washing the pan. I'm just surprised the way you are washing the pan.
Yes.
Why are you doing it that way?
That's what she said.
This is what you were facing at everything you do.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
But my favorite part was the Hungarian folk dancing session.
Yeah, that was fun. That was
That
fun.
was crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn, like, what kind of timing are you doing here? This is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting folk dancing. I'll give a demonstration.
Nice.
It's close. That's pretty good.
You need the fast piece music.
Yeah, you didn't do any snapping there. You gotta get that.
I forgot about the snapping. Yeah, we had a great time, and more to come. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we wrap it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, we could talk for days, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
who would listen to that?
Let's do a Patreon segment.
Okay.
Yeah, we should do a Patreon segment. Before we go, though, I want to mention two things. One is to Edfu, who has donated multiple times in the live chat. He's a member of the Patreon as well. Sent us an excellent Christmas poem, basically, to read on a Christmas show, and we just didn't end up doing a Christmas show. So I'm very sorry. I will save it. It was really good. I'll save it for next year. Or maybe I'll read it in when we actually finally do some listener communications.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, because it was really good. And then he was messaging me like, "Hey man, don't miss this." And I was like, "I didn't miss it. I'm sorry. It just didn't work out this year." The other thing, we got a 1-up box. It had multiple of these cute little knitted snake plushies in them. So I had Elisa pick some that she loved them. I had her pick some that she liked, and then I brought the rest down here. There was also a letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to leave it for Kyle because it had a great story in there about listening to Procession and doing some remodeling of the house, and it was really cool. So you should definitely check that out, and maybe we will read it on a show when we do one of the listener communications. But I wanted to acknowledge it. Thank you so much for the 1-up boxes. We have been not checking this box often enough, so sorry we missed this for Christmas, but yes. Those two things. Thanks to all of you who support the show. Again, go check out the Ancient Technology podcast with Károly and all of this stuff that's being worked on. It's an ongoing process. More information is constantly coming out when it's available, when the analysis is done. So keep an eye out at Ancient Technology podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. Looking forward to the next adventure.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm out of Guinness, so I'm grabbing another one for the Patreon.
For the Patreon.
All right. We'll see you on the Patreon side.
Yeah. And to all you listeners, we love you.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Adamu.